Hello, and welcome to today's video. My name is Nikki C. Patterson, owner and operator of I Prevail K-12 Academic Learning Center and I Prevail K-12 Educational Consulting. As an educational consultant, I teach parents how to disrupt the one-size-fits-all practices, policies, and procedures of the public school system so that their child can receive a quality education. Typically, when I come in, it's because a parent has requested that I provide an answer to a question that they have to help their child receive a quality education. However, with everything that's going on in our district, I decided to pivot so that I can help more students receive a quality education. Recently, our board decided not to renew our superintendent's contract. So, our current superintendent's contract is going to be expiring on June 2020. Well, we're going to be looking for a new superintendent. And one of the major items that were contested during this decision was, why are our black schools still failing? Why are our black schools still the lowest performing schools in this district? And that is definitely something that our next superintendent will have to address as far as being seen as successful. So rather than coming and have them to be the only ones addressing it, I've decided to use the information and contents that I've discovered over the last 10 years of working to improve the public school system to work with parents who have children in those low performing schools, as well as residents of the Assumption community, so that we can create a plan so that when someone comes in and they say, hey, how do we fix those low performing schools, we've already done the work. And that plan is going to be based upon the knowledge and information that I've placed inside of my book, How to Win as a Principal. The contents for this book were written and used from the advocacy work that I did to help my own son, who was in a low performing school in Assumption Parish, receive a quality education. As I started to go through and partner with his leaders and his teachers, we noticed several problems arising. And when those problems emerged, I wrote it down, and then we looked at how we can solve those individual problems. Well, those steps became the 9-step process that I now use to help anyone who's looking to improve a low performing school or help their child receive a quality education. And the process is called the diversity process. Well, in previous videos, we've looked at some of the steps of the diversity process. The D in the diversity process is demographics matter. Who are your children in relation to your adults? And then how can their demographics or their culture, their economic and educational attainment, all of those things matter. So we need to look at it. Then afterwards, investigate the data. I know a lot of times we are looking to see what were the school performance scores, but there's a lot more that goes into the data that needs to be looked into. And so we need to investigate the data. Then V, vision for success. I know the main thing that rules a lot of school is how many points you need in order to get to the next letter grade, especially if you're a low performing school. Well, there are so many other visions that we need to look at. First and foremost, we have children's lives and futures ahead of us. So what do they see for their future? What is the community going to provide? And what do we do to help them? We need to set a vision for success. Afterwards, E, no one can do it on their own. We all need to work together to do it. Work together to ensure that this is done. Well, in order for us to do that, we need to employ the right people. That means faculty, staff, leaders, educators. We need to employ the right people and have the right people on board so that we can create a winning team. After that, we need to build relationships. Things look different in different cultures, and so we need to make sure that our relationships are mutually beneficial. That means teacher to teacher relationships, teacher to leader relationships, and even teacher to student relationships. We need to build appropriate relationships. Well, that takes us to today's step. And today's step is basically we're going to look at, excuse me, I misspoke. The next step we looked at was student-centered. And of course, student-centered is basically making sure that our practices and our policies and our procedures are keeping our students in mind. How do we keep our students in mind with the practices, procedures, and policies that we're creating? We know that the government mandates different things, but how do we make sure that our students are not falling through the crack and that they're not having to come in and sit among policies that they had no control over and that they had no choice in making? So we definitely want to make sure that the things that we're holding our students accountable for, that is actually student-centered. Now it takes us to today's step, and that is I, Instructional Practices and Procedures. We have long said that the goal is to build college and career ready students. However, a lot of times that idea seems to be something that is left for high school because there's a disconnect. Well, when we look at the instructional practices and procedures, we know that each step is building upon the next step. So that means if I'm in elementary school, what do I need to do in order to do well in middle school? If I'm in middle school, what do I need to do in order to do well in high school? If I'm in high school, what do I need to do in order to do well in college? That is literally where we can build a college and career ready campus. Well, a lot of times people are not doing that. When we look at college and career readiness, we're saying a student is going to be able to master this and they're going to be able to do that. But are we really preparing them for college and career readiness? Can a student take the ACT test and get an acceptable score on their test and actually be able to get scholarship money if they're coming from a local forming school? Because most times that the parents are not able to provide funding for their child to go to school. Can a child leave the public school system and actually be able to create a resume and give a firm handshake and do a great job on the interview? Are we really preparing these students for college and career readiness? So we need to bust up the idea that we are and actually look to see what those things need in order for us to be successful in that area. So this step of the process basically walks us through the diversity process, and we look at what instructional practices can we do that are going to lead us to building college and career ready students. And if there are no instructional practices, then we look at how can we implement some things. And so in this chapter of the book, we look at how we can take things away that do not lead to college and career readiness and how we can include other things that we should be focusing on to lead to college and career readiness. And since I've been doing this for my own son, we've seen a lot of success. So I want to be able to walk other parents through that process. Well, in the book study, which is going to start on June 1st, I'm going to be able to do that. When our superintendent comes in and says, well, what does college and career readiness looks like for your child or your child or your school, we will have a plan. So I want to walk with you through a book study of the book, How to Win as a Principal. The book study is going to begin on June 1st. And it's going to go through each step of the diversity process. It's a 30-day process. And I definitely want to make sure that I'm there actually walking you through each step. So if you have not gotten a copy of the book, you can look at purchasing a copy from Amazon, or you can reach out to me directly. But if you want to be a part of the book study, please email me at info@nikkicpatterson.com, and I would love to get you the information that you need in order to become a part of the book study. We cannot hold anyone else accountable for ensuring that the instructional practices and procedures and policies are disrupted until we know what disruption looks like. Well, we definitely need to get in there and see what success looks like in order for us to disrupt what success does not look like. So I'm willing to partner with all of those who want to be a part of this book study so that we can create a plan for success, not only for our school system, but for our students. So it's time to save ourselves. Are you ready? Because I am. Talk to you soon. Bye.